Her pregnant belly was especially noticeable in the tense atmosphere of the library, as the executive's gaze moved from her resume to her protruding abdomen, a contemptuous smile flickering across his lips. "We need fully committed employees, not someone who's about to take leave," he said coldly, pushing her resume aside. Lina Chin stood quietly at the back of the Reynolds Mansion library. The 7-month pregnancy bump under her simple gray maternity dress couldn't be hidden by her faded blue cardigan. She chose a corner near a tall window framing the misty hills outside, her cloth bag clutched protectively over her belly. The library smelled of old money, polished mahogany, leather-bound books, and expensive roses in vases costing more than most people's rent. Crystal chandeliers scattered April sunlight across a crowd of elegantly dressed relatives, investors, and advisors. 42 people, each dressed to claim their stake in Alexander Reynolds' biomedical empire. Tailored suits, silk dresses, and diamonds winked with every gesture as they sipped champagne, their rehearsed condolences as artificial as their smiles. Not one offered Lina a seat despite her obvious pregnancy. Her flat shoes made no sound on the marble floor as she positioned herself away from the crowd. Her dark hair was pulled into a simple bun, loose strands framing a face that needed no makeup to hold its own. At 34, Lina was beautiful in a quiet way that didn't demand attention, but deserved it nonetheless. She gently rubbed her belly as the baby kicked, steeling herself for what was to come. William Morris, Alexander's second cousin, leaned against a mahogany bookshelf, his gold tie catching the light as he smirked in Lina's direction. "Seriously, who let the cleaning staff in?" His voice carried deliberately, drawing chuckles from nearby relatives. Sophie, William's sister in a crimson dress that hugged her slender figure, tossed her perfectly styled hair. "Maybe she's here to dust the wheel before it's read." More laughter, sharp and brittle like breaking glass, rippled through the room. Across the library, Olivia, a niece with a tech startup and 1 million followers, nudged her friend Eliza, a former assistant to Alexander's CFO. "Bet she's won his charity cases," Olivia whispered loudly enough for Lina to hear. "Or some mistress who got herself knocked up for the paycheck. Look at her bag, like she's carrying her lunch." Eliza snickered, discreetly snapping a photo with her phone. "This is going on my story. #Reynolds will #fail." Olivia's fingers flew across her phone, her smirk growing as she typed a caption for photos she'd just taken of Lina. Found Alexander's charity case crashing while reading. "Guess she thinks pregnancy is a ticket to billions," she said aloud, ensuring Lina heard every word. The crowd laughed, some pulling out their own phones to like and share the post, which was already gaining traction online. Comments flooded in, strangers calling Lina a gold digger and baby trapper, their digital mockery echoing the room's disdain. Lina stood motionless, one hand resting protectively on her belly, her hazel eyes catching the glow of Olivia's screen. She didn't speak. Her silence seemed to fuel their glee, as if her composure was a challenge they had to break. "Poor thing doesn't even know she's a meme now," Eliza said, her voice dripping with false pity. The laughter swelled, a chorus of cruelty that painted Lina as less than human, her dignity and her unborn child both targets for their amusement. Lina's fingers tightened briefly on her cloth bag, a plain thing stitched with care, not a designer logo in sight. She didn't acknowledge William's taunt or Sophie's barb. She stood still, her breathing even, one hand occasionally moving to her side where the baby was kicking. To them, her silence was weakness, a sign she didn't belong. They couldn't see the steel beneath it, the way her stillness commanded respect without demanding it. Gerald Hayes, a former investor in a pinstriped suit, muttered to his wife, "Alexander always had strays hanging around. This one's got no business here, especially in her condition." His wife, dripping in emeralds, nodded, her eyes raking Lina's outfit. "No class," she said, her voice a stage whisper. "She's embarrassing the family, just standing there with that belly of hers." Timothy, a distant cousin in a velvet blazer, called out, "Hey, sweetheart, prenatal clinic's that way." He pointed toward a side door, grinning as his friends clapped him on the back. Amelia, an aunt twice removed, clucked her tongue. "Really? Someone should escort her out before the lawyer arrives." It's disrespectful to Alexander's memory to have a pregnant nobody crashing the reading. Sophie, her crimson dress swishing with every step, crossed the room toward Lina, her heels clicking like a countdown. She stopped inches away, towering over Lina's smaller frame, her perfume sharp and suffocating. "You're in the wrong place, darling," she said, her voice loud enough to draw every eye. She reached out, flicking Lina's cardigan as if it were trash, her nails grazing the fabric with deliberate disdain. "This isn't maternity ward. Why don't you leave before you embarrass yourself further?" The crowd watched, some smirking, others whispering, none stepping in to defend a pregnant woman being harassed. Lina didn't move. Her eyes flicked briefly to the security camera in the corner, its red light blinking steadily. She knew it was live, feeding to a private server only 2 people could access. One was her. The other wasn't here. Not yet. As Timothy prepared to make another comment, he slipped behind Lina, his velvet blazer brushing the wall as he whispered to his friends, "Watch this." He pulled a cocktail napkin from a nearby table, scribbled "Baby Trappers Anonymous" in Sharpie, and tucked into the strap of Lina's bag when she wasn't looking. The room noticed. Snickers spreading like wildfire as people pointed at the note, its bold letters of brand on Lina's back. Olivia snapped another photo, her laughter barely contained, while Liza whispered, "She's a walking pregnancy joke now." Lina stood unaware, her focus shifting as the heavy library doors opened. The prank wasn't just cruel. It was a spectacle designed to make Lina a fool for daring to exist among them, pregnant and unashamed. Attorney Howard Blackwell entered at precisely 10 a.m., his gray suit crisp, his briefcase heavy with secrets. He was older, in his 60s, with a face carved by decades of handling fortunes and feuds. The room hushed as he set his briefcase on the table, opened it, and pulled out a single-sealed envelope. No flourish, no preamble. He adjusted his glasses and scanned the crowd, his gaze pausing on Lina for a fraction of a second, long enough to unsettle William, who frowned and whispered to Sophie, "What's that about?" Gerald Hayes stood, his pinstripe suit creasing as he pointed at Lina, his voice booming like a judge delivering a verdict. "This woman's a fraud," he declared, his finger trembling with indignation. "Alexander would never let someone like her near his estate. She's here to scam us with that pregnancy. Plain and simple." The room buzzed with agreement, heads nodding, eyes narrowing at Lina as if she were a thief caught red-handed. "She's probably got a fake DNA test in that rag of a bag," his wife added, her emeralds glinting as she gestured dismissively toward Lina's belly. "You know how these women operate." The accusation hung heavy, turning Lina into a criminal in their minds. Her pregnancy, instead of earning her basic respect, became evidence of her apparent deception. Lina's gaze remained steady, but the weight of their judgment pressed down, each word a lash meant to strip her bare. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, their outraged performance for each other, Lina's silence only fueling their need to tear her apart. Howard cleared his throat. "We're here to read the last will and testament of Alexander James Reynolds, executed 3 years ago and verified as authentic." Murmurs rippled through the room. 3 years? Alexander had vanished only 6 months ago. His private jet lost over the Pacific. No wreckage, no body, just a void that fueled headlines and greed. Most assumed he'd died. Most hoped he had. William straightened his tie, his smirk returning. "Let's get to it then. Who gets the keys to the kingdom?" Olivia leaned forward, her manicured nails tapping her phone, already planning her victory post. Gerald crossed his arms, muttering about stock options. Amelia clutched her pearls, whispering to Timothy about the villa in Tuscany. Lina stayed still, her bag now resting at her feet. She watched Howard's hands as he broke the seal, the crack of wax loud in the quiet room. The crowd leaned in, their breathing shallow, their eyes hungry. This was it, the moment they dressed for, schemed for, flown across continents for. Alexander's empire, Patent's real estate, a biomedical firm worth $90 billion, was up for grabs. Or so they thought. Howard unfolded the paper, his voice steady but deliberate, each word a stone dropped into still water. "I, Alexander James Reynolds, being of sound mind, declare this my final will. To my family, colleague, and associates, I leave nothing but this truth. Wealth reveals character, not worth. The room froze. William's smile faltered. Olivia's phone slipped an inch in her hand. Gerald's jaw tightened, his wife's emeralds suddenly seeming heavy. Nothing. It had to be a mistake. Howard continued, unfazed. All my assets, company shares, properties, accounts, and intellectual rights are bequeathed to one person. The one who stood by me for no reason other than love. The one who never asked my net worth, never sought my name for status. My wife, Lina, and our unborn child. A gasp tore through the room, sharp and jagged. Heads whipped around, searching for a face that matched the name. William barked a laugh, short and disbelieving. Wife? Alexander wasn't married, and he certainly didn't have a child on the way. Sophie's hand flew to her mouth, her crimson nails stark against her paling skin. Olivia's eyes narrowed, darting to Eliza, who mouthed, "What the hell?" Gerald stood, his chair scraping the floor. This is absurd. Alexander never mentioned a wife or baby. It's a scam. Someone's forged a damn thing. Amelia clutched Timothy's arm, her voice shrill. She's not here, is she? Some pregnant gold digger we've never met. Stealing what's ours? Howard held up a hand, silencing them. The will is legal, signed, and notarized. Supporting documents, marriage certificate, photographs, personal letters, are available for verification. He reached into his briefcase, pulling out a folder. He opened it, revealing a photograph. Alexander, younger, laughing, his arm around Lina in a simple white dress, her belly still flat, standing outside a courthouse. The date on the back read, 7 years ago. The room erupted. William slammed a fist on the table. This is insanity. Who is she? Olivia stood, her phone forgotten, shouting, "Where's this Lina? Show her." Timothy sneered. Probably some con artist hiding in Monaco with a fake baby bump. Sophie's voice cut through, venomous. If she's real, why is she not here? Too ashamed to show her face. Lina stepped forward. The movement was quiet, deliberate, like a tide turning. Her flat shoes made no sound, but every eye followed her as she crossed the room. Her cardigan swayed slightly, her maternity dress catching the light, her pregnant belly now unmistakable. She stopped beside Howard, her posture straight, her face calm. The cloth bag hung from her shoulder, unassuming like her. The silence was deafening. William's mouth opened, then closed, his gold ties suddenly garish. Olivia's face flushed, her earlier photo burning a hole in her phone. Gerald sank back into his chair, his wife's emeralds dull now. Amelia's pearls seemed to choke her, her hand frozen mid-gesture. Howard nodded to Lina, a faint respect in his eyes. "Mrs. Reynolds," he said, handing her the folder. She took it without a tremor, her fingers steady as she opened it, glancing at the photograph. Her lips curved just a hint, as if remembering the day it was taken. Then she closed the folder and faced the room. "I didn't come for the money," she said, her voice clear, low like a bell through fog. "I came to see who you were. Who among you cared for Alexander as a man, not a bank account? Who'd mourn him, not his fortune?" She paused, her hazel eyes sweeping the crowd, pinning each one without effort. "You showed me exactly who you are." William found his voice, shaky but defiant. "You're saying you're his wife? You?" He gestured at her dress, her cardigan, her pregnant belly, his laugh forced. "Alexander Reynolds married to this? No offense, lady, but you look like you shop at thrift stores for maternity clothes." Lina didn't blink. "I do," she said simply. Alexander didn't care. He loved me for me, not for what I wore or what I owned. Can any of you say the same? Olivia snorted, folding her arms over her designer dress. "Nice act, but I'm not buying it. If you're his wife, where's the proof? A photo is not enough. Anyone can fake that." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room, emboldening the crowd. Gerald nodded, his voice loud again. "She's right. We need more. Witnesses, records, something real." Howard opened his briefcase again, pulling out a stack of documents. Marriage license dated 7 years ago, signed by both parties and 2 witnesses. a nurse named Kate Ellis, and a librarian named Mark Reed. Personal letters from Alexander to Lina, handwritten, verified by forensic analysis. Bank records showing joint accounts kept private at Alexander's request. And he paused, pulling out a small USB drive, video footage. He inserted the drive into a laptop on the table, and a screen on the wall flickered to life. The room held its breath as grainy footage played. Courthouse steps, Alexander in a simple suit, Lina in a white dress, both laughing as they kissed. Kate and Mark stood nearby, clapping. The date stamp matched the certificate. Then the video switched to more recent footage. Alexander speaking directly to the camera, his face serious as he addressed his wife, mentioning her pregnancy, asking if she found out the gender yet. The timestamp, just 2 months ago. Sophie stood, her voice trembling with rage. This is a setup? You planned this, didn't you? Tricking us into what? Looking bad? You're nobody. Alexander would never marry someone like you, let alone have a child with you. Her words stung, but Lina's face didn't change. She let Sophie's anger hang, in the air unanswered. Then she spoke, her voice colder now, sharp enough to cut. You're right about one thing. This was planned, not to trick you, but to test you, to see if any of you care enough to ask who I was before you mocked my pregnancy, to see if you'd honor Alexander's memory or just claw for his wealth. She stepped closer to the crowd, one hand protectively on her belly, her presence filling the room. You failed. All of you. Timothy laughed, nervous now. Test? What is this? A game show? Come on, you can't be serious. But his voice wavered as Lina's eyes met his, steady and unyielding. She reached into her bag, pulling out a small remote. Alexander isn't dead, she said, each word deliberate. He's alive, and he's been watching you this whole time. She pressed the remote, and another monitor on the wall clicked on. There, in a dimly lit room, sat Alexander Reynolds, 42, lean, with dark hair streaked with gray, his blue eyes sharp as ever. He leaned back in a chair, his expression calm but unyielding, like a judge weighing souls. The camera feed was live, the timestamp ticking in the corner. April 15th, 2023, 10:32 a.m. The room exploded in gasps, shouts, disbelief. William stumbled back, his tie askew. Olivia dropped her phone, the screen cracking on the marble floor. Gerald's wife clutched his arm, whispering, "No, it can't be." Amelia's pearls snapped, beads scattering across the floor like broken promises. Alexander's voice came through the monitor, low and resonant. You thought I was gone. You thought this was your chance to carve up my life like a cake. But I've been here, watching, listening. Every word, every sneer, every lie. His gaze shifted as if looking through the camera at Lina. My wife warned me you'd show your true colors. She was right. The library doors opened and Alexander walked in. He was real, solid, his presence like a storm breaking. His suit was simple, no tie, his shoes scuffed from travel. The crowd parted as he crossed the room toward Lina, their whispers dying, their bravado gone. He stopped beside her, his hand reaching for hers, the other gently touching her pregnant belly. She looked up at him, her eyes softening for the first time, and he nodded, a silent agreement passing between them. Only Mark the librarian, Kate the nurse, and Amy the groundskeeper remained in the room, the only three who had shown Lina simple kindness. Alexander turned to them, his voice softer. You saw her. You didn't judge. That's what family means. He looked at Lina, his hand finding hers again. You were right about all of it. Lina's gaze lingered on the empty chairs, the spilled champagne, the broken pearls. I didn't want to be right, she said, her voice quiet but firm. I wanted them to be better. She faced the three who remained, her eyes warm now. Thank you for seeing me. Alexander squeezed her hand, his voice low for her alone. You're more than I'll ever understand. She smiled small but real and leaned into him, her cardigan brushing his sleeve, her other hand cradling her belly where their child grew, safe and loved. If this story touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever been underestimated during pregnancy or seen someone face similar discrimination? Your experiences matter, and every share helps change perceptions about pregnant women's capabilities. Subscribe for more powerful stories that challenge stereotypes and celebrate the strength of expectant mothers.